am back, mofos. I put up on the board here something to help beginning card counters get better at card counting. I'm going to explain it in a minute. There seems like a lot of gibberish on the board, but I'm going to explain it in a second. Beginning card counters tend to have a problem with the negative count numbers or counting in reverse. They tend to get confused when they get into the negative numbers, especially if they the part where they have to divide by remaining decks. So here I have a way to do this so that the 10 right here is 0. All of the numbers in the green across are all positive numbers, and all of the numbers in the red to the left are all negative numbers. Okay? Now what you do is you start at 10, and when you're seeing low cards, which is 2 through 6, you are counting forward, but instead of starting at 0 and counting 1, 2, 3, you're counting from 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like that. Okay? When you see aces through 10s, instead of counting negative numbers like -1, -2, -3, you're counting backwards from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, etc. Easy enough, right? Now the only time this is going to be an issue, obviously, is when you actually get to 20, right? Because you're going to be at 20 in your mind, but eventually you're going to have to go to 21, 22, 23, which is actually going to be 11, 12, and 13 for division purposes. So don't get that part confused. So if you hit 20, you're actually at 10. That's what you have to remember for division purposes. When you're trying to find the true count, you have to remember after 20, you're actually at 11 or 12 or 13. Okay, don't get it confused and try to divide 21 by remaining decks, because you're not going to get the true count. Now, right here under 15, I have positive EV. Everything north of 15 is positive EV. Even stronger so when you hit the 18, 19, 20 area, especially 18. 18 is a nice strong count, nice strong running count no matter where you are in the shoe. Especially if you have more than 2 decks played out, that 18 starts to become a really strong indicator of a good true count. And then once you divide, of course. But when you divide, just always divide by 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Don't try to divide 13 by the remaining decks. Forget about these numbers except for the running count. That's the whole purpose. This is really just practice. You're not actually going to do this in a casino unless it helps you keep the running count. But you have to remember, when you try to divide, do not divide by 15 or 14 or any of these numbers. You want to divide by the single number of 5. Okay? Because this is actually 0. And that's actually 1, and that's actually 2, and that's actually 3. Same thing with the negative numbers. Now the negative numbers here, if you look right here, I have this 6 underlined, and it says 2 decks played. What that means is that if you're in a negative count and 2 decks have been played out, anything south of this number 6, I would get out of that shoe. If you have 3 decks played out and you're like you're down here by the 3, 4, 5, anything underneath that 6, pull out of the shoe. You'll be a lot safer that way. That shoe might be a walk away that it might not turn around unless you have 1 deck left or something like that. You know, to where when you look at say you're at -2, right? And you have 1 deck left. You're anything north of 6, you're probably still okay. Because you got to remember, as soon as you hit this 0 and go here, you're at, if you have 1 deck left and you hit 1 or 2, you're at plus 1 plus 2 is true count 1 and 2 right here with 1 deck left. So this changes, of course, if you have a lot of decks out. But 2 decks played out, if you're down in this area, it might not turn around. You might want to just walk out of it just to be on the safe side. That's what I do. I pull out of it so that I don't end up blowing money. So, of course, your 7, 8s, and 9s are 0. Your 10 is 0. So just remember that the 10 is 0. 7, 8, and 9, 0. Ace through 10s are all red numbers. 2 through 6 is all green numbers. You have positive EV after +5. The more decks played out, of course, the better that is, because you're still going to divide these numbers by the remaining decks to get the true count. But most of these numbers here after two decks is a really, really good gauge to see where your true count is. After 2 decks, these numbers become a lot more accurate. And then, of course, if you have an ace and a 6, you have one card from here and 1 card from here, you're canceled out, you're still at 0. Easy enough, right? It's easy to practice this way because as you're rolling through the cards, you're just saying 10, 11, 12, 13 as low cards come out. As high cards come out, you're counting backwards, 13, 12, 11, 10. If you have to hit the negative part, you don't get confused because you're saying 10, 9, 8, 7. Everybody learns that, right? We all watched the shuttle launch. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Everybody can do that count. So every time you see high cards from 0, you're counting backwards. If you have to go forward from there, the confusing part when people are doing negative numbers is that if they're at -5 and they see a low card come out, the natural tendency is to go forward, which is 5 to 6, but they actually have to start counting backwards again from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 back to 0 as the low cards come back out. It's pretty confusing if you're new at it, and it's what probably deters most people from really being successful, or practicing, I should say practicing enough to be successful. It's not that hard, but this is an easier way to do it for practice reasons. It will get you comfortable with counting forward and backward. I wouldn't try to use this in an actual casino unless you're back counting a table and you just want to practice it. I used to do it all the time when I started. I would stand in the casino for like a year straight, almost every day, and just watch the cards getting dealt. I would be practicing counting. And I would pick a hand that somebody was playing. I would just practice my plays, my deviations. I would practice my betting, in my mind. And that's how I would do it. Because when you practice at home, kind of hard to mimic the distractions. So I feel like it's better to go to a casino and stand behind the tables and go ooh and ah and act fucking stupid when you see dealers get blackjacks and shit. Just respond like everybody else does, like you're just watching the game, but you're really practicing the count. You're practicing watching the cards come out. It's also a lot easier to get faster because you have different speed dealers. So you have certain dealers that are much faster. That's a good way to test yourself, is to follow the fast dealers and see if you can keep the count while they're dealing really quick. Another problem you run into as a beginner is when the dealer is giving the player information about their hand, like they say 8 or 18 or something like that. That number might confuse you when you hear it. Sometimes people don't know what hand they have. They might have a 7, a 3, and a 5, right? They might not know what they have. So the dealer will say 15. And then you're hearing 15 and you're trying to hold another number, which is the running count, in your head as that's happening, and that might confuse you. So to practice that stuff and to kind of get past that, what I did is I would go to casinos before I ever actually counted or played for real with real money. I would practice on the tables from behind the tables like you're backhanded, which is something you're going to be doing anyway, because if you really, really want to make this work and you want to make good money at this, back counting is a really good way to do it, because you can jump right into a positive shoe when you have 2 or 3 decks played out and you're in the north of 5 range. You can jump right into that shoe. You can also wong in and out of the shoe while you're playing. If the shoe goes real negative, like I said here, if you get these bullshit numbers here and you have 4 decks played out or 3 decks or 2 decks and you want to back out of the shoe, you can. Just keep counting. That's it. So that's it. 10 is 0, all your positive numbers in green. You can take a screenshot of this, or if you want to write this down, just pause it and write it down on a piece of paper so you remember it. It's pretty easy though. So from 10, you go forward to the green numbers, 11, 12, 13, 14. As your 2s and 6s come out, everything north of 15 is positive EV on the next blind hand. Everything negative is in red. So basically you're just going to be counting up and down like this. Just go up and down these numbers as you see these cards come out. If you see 1 and 1, ace 6 for example, you know, or a 10-5, whatever, stiff hands, then you want to remain at whatever number you're at. So if you have 14 and you see an ace 6, you stay in there. Your count don't move. If you have to count backwards from here, of course you're going to be counting backwards through these numbers, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. 10, you're at neutral. Not legitimately neutral within the shoe, but you're at the neutral count, the balance, because this is basically a spin-off of high-low. High-low is a balance count. Every card balances out to 0. All right? Pause the video, write it down. If you like this video, if you learned anything from this video, hit subscribe, hit the little bell on the left, and you'll get notifications when I post a new video. All right? Good luck, guys.